world needs me. And others are depending on me, so I can't let my indiscipline stop others' success. And that's what I've learned. So even though I don't like waking up early in the mornings, I get up because I know, by the way, you notice I'm not being late anymore? I'm on time? Yeah, okay. So that's the first one. Awesome stuff, guys. So we're going to talk about moving from group leader to EVP. So I just want to make sure I get this right. And there's certain changes that we have to make. And in fact, even as vice presidents now, some of us really need to make that change. I've still got to be changing. And Jeff just said something. I was laughing about the 18 recruits a month because I've gotten to a point where I've flatlined. And it's hard when you flatline to actually be carrying others with you. It's hard. I mean, and I'm sure you guys can admit that. You're doing stuff, but to take others along, Mr. Jeff, I understand, because I'm saying recruiting, I mean, I don't like people at the moment. I'm going through a phase, I don't like them.
I was 18 a year.
Oh.
Yeah. For 3 years,
Yeah.
18 at 1.5 recruits a month is what I had.
Yeah.
For the 3 years, and I was miserable.
I know, and then they come asking questions, I don't even want to talk to them. So anyway, I'm going to have to go back and get baptized again and get back in. So it is a mindset shift that we have to go through. And so as people are moving from group leader to executive vice president, something has to shift mentally. Because where you are depending on your vice president, by the way, it's always about staying plugged in to vice president. So even for us, when we are vice presidents, I mean, Shaz and I speak 3-4 times a day. And one of the things you'll notice is that people who stay plugged into their vice presidents do a lot better than people who are not plugged in with their vice presidents. Don't ask me why it is, but that's just the way it is. Even if you don't like them, that is just the way it is. There's a shift in mindset. So we need to start encouraging our group leaders to stay plugged in. Most people who get rolled back, a lot of times is because they had stopped plugging into their vice presidents. The minute they hit vice president, my first vice president rolled back, she thought, I'm having my own meetings where I live. I'm not coming to the office anymore. I'm not traveling across town. And within 6 months, she was gone. So it's a shift in mindset, in understanding that you've got to stay plugged in. It's being a student and learning to be a teacher at the same time. So you're teaching, but you're also remaining a student at the same time. Stepping into full-time leadership also means that some of the things that you are leaving for others, a lot of people, as Jeff said, they wait till they get to vice president and they say, oh, I've arrived here, what now happens? We need to start getting people to understand that leadership and stepping into that role of full-time is operating like you're already there. So I used to call my vice president every night when I came back from an appointment. If I had no appointments, I would still call and tell him how my day went. Because we don't have to be accountable to anybody now as vice presidents, it means that what we're doing is we don't talk to anybody, we had a bad day or we didn't do anything, nobody can ask us anything, we're all adults, and so that's what happens. However, stepping into leadership means that you start operating, but you stay plugged in all at the same time with your vice president. Okay, all right. The power of you attraction. You have got to become, so as you're stepping into vice president, what you got to start thinking of is, who will I be attracting? I've always asked my leaders, I said, would you recruit you? That's the question. If you were looking for somebody to fill a role, if you were looking for a PA, would you employ you? If you're looking for a manager to run your business, would you employ you? So as you're stepping from group leader into vice president, we've got to start thinking of is, would I be a vice president that I would want in my business? Would I be a vice president that's dependable? Would I be a vice president that if something is happening and I get to choose who's going to come with me? You know, I say to people all the time, if you get one phone call, right? If you're in an emergency, you get one phone call, do not call Barbara. Honestly, I'm the last person to pick up my phone. Carol tells me off all the time. She said, Mommy, you never answer. It's the same thing I realized about being a vice president or stepping into the role of vice president. Will you be that person that somebody can depend on? And would you be able to depend on you? Because sometimes the only person you're going to have is you. And so a lot of times people assume that you get a vice president and you get there and it's all about, yeah, I'm here now and everything's going to be honky-dory. No, sometimes it's going to be the only person on that journey is you. You're the only believer. You're the person sitting in the pew. You're the person preaching. You're the only person, and the person you attract is you. And if you can develop the skills in all the areas that you need, and you're not going to learn it. I can't sing. How many have watched that movie, A Star is Born? Is that what it was called, with Bradley Cooper? And Bradley trained to sing. I promise you that with no matter what amount of training I give me, I can't sing. Yeah? No training can help me. Which is what Justin, unfortunately, some people are vice presidents. We should not be vice presidents. I can't sing, so don't ask me to sing, all right? Stay level-headed in crisis and turmoil. That's one of the biggest things. Because if people don't understand that getting to vice president, things are going to change. And for some reason, we go through these seasons, and your season is going to happen at some point. So somebody comes in and they have a big network and everything's going fine, and they get their 4 team leaders and they're now a group leader, they've done their 10 by 10, and everything is fine. And then suddenly, crisis hits. Somebody quits and they take the whole team with them, or they quit and they cancel all the business, or they go to another company and rewrite all the business, and crisis and turmoil hits. I think we've got to start preparing people. One of the things I love about our business is we tell people all the happy, nice things. Gareth Morgan said something, is that leaders never let their people see their pain, so they think it's all fine. As an EVP, you show them all the nice things, but you never tell them there's any pain involved.
Very true.
Yeah? And so they get there and they spend, they say, well, you never told me that. You never said people were going to quit. You never said people were going to cancel their policy. You never said no guests would show up at my business overview meeting. So the thing about it is learning to stay level-headed in times of crisis and turmoil and be more decisive. I was told once that you never second-guess the decision that you've made. Once you make it, you live with the consequence of those decisions. I'm a quick talker. I always try to talk back. One of the things I'm learning is to start listening more and stop responding, getting ready to respond, because that's always been me. You're telling me something that I don't want to hear, I'm getting ready with my response for you. So I'm not even hearing anything that you are saying. However, as I've gotten older, as I've gotten older, one of the things I've learned is that the decisions I make is going to impact others, and it's going to have an effect for the future. I have to live with those decisions. I hate saying sorry. How many people in here have ever said sorry to? Chances are never. I go away, I'm big pig-headed, I'm not going to say I'm sorry. I said it and I'm done. So therefore, as we make decisions, we've got to make sure that the right decisions, and we're willing to live with the consequences of those actions as we get into leadership. Because the thing is, nobody can't beat you for making the decision. You've made them and you have to live with it. So now we're making our own decisions. We're getting to the point where, as a vice president, you're going to decide, is that person the right person? Is that person the correct person? Should I be spending time with this person? There's some people, they come so dressed up and nice, you go like, that's the one I'm going to work with, and they're not the right person. Yeah. You shouldn't have been spending no time with them. I've learned that. If I could get back half the time I've wasted with rubbish people, I'm telling you, I'll be 25 again. Yeah? So be decisive, make decisions, and be able to stick with the decisions that you have made. I am clicking up. Okay. Be the right person in the right place at the right time or not. I heard something recently that said that you could be in the right place and meet the wrong people. And sometimes you're in the wrong place and you meet the right people. You have got to remain open-minded and be prepared for what life throws at you, because sometimes the best laid plans get erased. You have everything mapped out and everything planned out, and everything gets erased. One of the things I tell people is that I don't have a plan B, because faith has no plan B. Yeah? That's why I can't quit. I can't quit. I mean, no matter how, if I get tired or disillusioned, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to go back. I mean, I don't like reading. I mean, and Jeff told us about Blinkist before, and I never read any of the books you said, but as they're poking, Alan, like, what's the name of that app again? And Alan said, Blinkist. So I've downloaded books on Blinkist, because I know I'm not disciplined enough to go read the whole book, but I also want to know the story. Give me a snapshot, give me a summary. So you've also got to learn what works best for you in your world, because you have to teach others. Paul said you've got to become all things to all men so you can save some of them. I am an action person. I don't need to know the rules. I can't swim, but I'll jump in the water and then ask what's happening. Why is everybody here? That's it. I've also learned that getting into leadership is not the best way. I should have put that in my notes, but one of the things I've also learned is to start putting systems in place that others can duplicate. I work from my personality, I learn the way I am, and I expect everybody to be that way. So I've gotten better at creating systems so somebody can say, okay, that's step one, that's step two, and that was me changing in order to get better. So that's becoming a vice president. These are things that we got to start looking at and start thinking, how can we impact others in a positive way? Help. Thanks. Stay respectful of the home you're stepping out of. This is what I was saying earlier, that people, that they can't wait. Jeffrey said we must be truthful. I never liked my vice president, but also realized that he was doing what I have not yet done, but I would like to do. So I stayed plugged in. I was never disrespectful. Even when he was rude to me, I swallowed it. I think this guy has something that I want. The best thing for me to do was get to vice president. However, when I got there in 5 months, I realized I still needed coaching and guidance. That's right. So I stayed plugged into him. Even when he was mean and horrible, I know that I stayed plugged in because he had something up here that I didn't have, that I needed to succeed. It's like your children. Sometimes you wish they were somebody else's. You don't want those ones. You want to exchange them for somebody else. I said, with my last event, I said, sometimes I don't like Corel. I know she don't like me sometimes. She said, I heard you. I said, I know, I don't like you. Yeah? But that's the thing about it. Stay respectful of the home you're stepping out of, because you're going to want your people to stay respectful. And however you behave with your upline, that's exactly how. It's so funny. I can promise you that most EVPs who have an upline in here, they're a reflection of their uplines. Whether or not you like it, you're a reflection of them. The things they do, the little quirks they have, you are exactly the same. So stay respectful of the house that you're stepping out of as well. Now, your weekly planner is very, very important. Planning is very important. I was never a planner. I used to get up and think, right, what am I going to do today? But then I learned quickly that if I had no plan, then nothing was going to happen. I was wishing and hoping and praying. So, guys, I'm going to promise you, I started using this from before I became an executive vice president. So that's like nearly 20 years ago. I created this because back then we didn't have phones, and I needed to see what spaces I had. I was working 2 jobs, and a lot of our group leaders are still in jobs that they're going to have to consider stepping out of to go full-time. So I created this, and naturally these colors change over time depending on where your BOMs are and your training. So I moved it around. Now, on the back of all my planners that my leaders have and everybody have is a breakdown of their week. It also helps people to figure out how much time they're spending on their recruiting, time spent on scoops and carrybacks, making calls, and training and development. It's important that you develop yourself, because if you don't develop yourself, then what happens is you're doing scoops and carryback and you're not growing. You're still at the same place. It's like, let's talk about going to the gym. You're running at the gym, you're on the treadmill, you're running, but you're not going anywhere. So it's important that we have a planner that we can see, or we can have it in your diary. You can have it however you want to set it out. And a full-time schedule, that's 40 hours. 40 hours for the week. That's the full-time schedule, because you give more time than that to your boss. So 40 hours, that's what we started working towards, is saying, how can I map out a 40-hour week? And at the bottom, Steve, I don't know if you still use this, but I got this from you. Blue in your diary are for scoops, red are for carryback, and green is for recruiting. And you can use any other color for anything else. So I train the team, and this is what people should be able to do. A group leader should go to their vice president and show this to them and say, this is my week, this is what I've got, and you're looking for the blues, the yellows, and the greens in that schedule as well. 85321, very, very important, guys. And for the part-timers, people who haven't yet, I think the thing about getting into vice president is that people need also to step into full-time commitment before they get to EVP. You can't become an EVP and then that's when you're going full-time. You have to go full-time before you get to vice president. So when you get there, you've already got the discipline and how to proceed. Next one for me, please. Thank you. Accountability. Yeah, it skips through. Go right on to the notes on this one, please, George. Yeah, thank you. So it's taking ownership of the outcome, both successes and failures. Remember, it's so funny. Gareth Southgate just quit. I know we don't want to talk about the football, so we won't. But what I'm saying is, when a team is doing poorly, even though it's not the manager that's playing, the reflection is on the manager. They said momentum makes a good leader momentum makes a rubbish leader look good, and it makes a good leader look bad. So any outcome, good or bad, is a reflection. So we need to start getting our mind into saying that whatever the outcome, if it's good, we praise the team. If it's bad, we take responsibility. We hold ourselves and the team accountable for the result. We maintain open and honest communication. We build trust through consistent and transparent actions. We can't do one thing and then tell our team to do another. It's like the people who are smoking and tell their kids not to smoke. That's what happens. So you can't say don't do it, but then that's what you're doing. Or you can't tell them do it. That is why if your diary is empty, guess what? I haven't had a recruit this month. So I'm feeling terrible because I'm saying to the team, guys, we need to go to 17, we need to do 10. But if I haven't got any, how can I put my hand on my heart? Because if it's tough for me getting a recruit, why is it any easier for them to get a recruit? I've got to lead by example, and that's the thing about it. I said we said we need to do 3 recruits. I've changed it with my team. I've said 4, because one's gonna tell you the bird's gonna get some, the sun's gonna burn some, the weeds and the thorns gonna kill some, and only one is gonna do something. So I know we say 3, but I've been saying to my team 4, because only 25% will do anything. So therefore, we got to show the team that I'm not telling you to do what I am not doing. I'm leading by example, and I'm showing you what is possible. All right, thanks, George. Next slide, please. Have your perfection checklist. Steve did this with me once, and you know what? I realize, I'm being honest, I don't do everything on here. I don't know if anybody in here is consistently following all of this. And it's very, very important that we learn these areas. We learn the tracks, we learn the scripts, we learn all of these things, and we're able to mark ourselves. You start with it first. Mark yourself first and see where you're at, and then ask yourself, how can I improve and get to the next point that I am better? And we're always learning. None of us will ever be a 10 out of 10, especially not in all areas. We're working to constantly grow. And I love what SVP Bevin said. He said it's adding increments on what you do. It's not jumping from one to the other, it's adding increments on to what you do. Help, George. Thank you. So the skills you develop, delegation. I'm the worst delegator. I used to be the worst delegator. I never liked delegating because I can do it quicker, so I get it done. I don't have time to teach. How many of you find it terrible training a new PA? Oh my God, trying to train a new PA is terrible. I've been struggling because I haven't had a PA for months now, but my own PA has just come back and came to my house and said, I'm back to my job. I'm not leaving till they tell me I've got my job back. And I was going like, hallelujah, inside my heart. And I was giving her a tough time. I was like, no, because this is what you didn't do, and this is what you did, and all of that. And then she just texted me and said, are you home? Because I'm coming back around later. All the way from South London, right? But the delegation is handing off the things that, not the ones that you don't want to do, but the things that others should be learning. Because most things that we're good at, that's what we want to do. And the things that we don't like, that's what we're giving to others. How about learning to do some of the things you don't like and giving what you can do to somebody else? Time management is very, very important. We only have a set amount of hours in the days. So we've got to learn to manage our time, become better listeners as well. Hearing what is not being said is very, very important. There are times people are telling you things, but that's not what they're saying. And you've got to learn to listen to what your people are not telling you. It's so funny because earlier I said about I'm the kind of person who's just getting ready to, I just wait for you to finish because I'm just going to tell you. I didn't even hear what you said, but I'm just getting ready to tell you what I want to tell you because I wanted to tell you about yourself for a long time. But listening is very, very important. And I'm not a good listener. I'm going to be honest. And the thing about it is you've got to self-analyze first. Because most of the things that we're wanting others to do are things that we ourselves are not doing. And so it might be, we need to step back to group leader mentally and take the next step back to vice versa. You're not losing your contract. You're still getting 110 or 115%. But the thing is, Matt, we need to step back and start putting ourselves back in this situation. Start meeting with people more. Start having group sessions. One of the things I encourage my leaders to do is to have their own little huddle and gathering, and then invite me. I don't want to be the one to set up the meeting and then said, okay, I'm inviting you. I said, you set it up. And then tell the team that you're inviting me as your guest speaker. That works. People are like, oh my God, because you start giving them that responsibility of creating their own environment and their own space as well. So listen more to what your people are saying, and also at times ask them to give you feedback. You know, Steve mentioned about, getting, was it Jeff, about getting somebody to critique you and all of that. Steve calls me up from time to time and go like, Barbara, can I say something? I mean, I don't want to offend you or anything, but Steve, I don't want to hear anything. Just leave me alone. I'm joking. I don't ever tell him that. But the thing about it is, I don't know, have you ever had one of those Steve Jenkins calls where he just want to tell you something? Yeah, and he tells all these nice things before, and he said, yeah, so mate, I just wanted to say something. We're good friends and all, but then he'll tell you about yourself, all right? So you must also be open. Everybody needs a critic, and everybody needs an advocate. And you know how awesome it is if the one person can do both roles. Because they're being honest with you. They'll tell you how awesome you are and how great you are, but they'll also tell you how horrible you are. And the areas you need to change in, that person in my life is my daughter. She tells me about myself. Sometimes she'll sit and listen to me doing meetings or session, and she goes like, that was terrible. Oh no. That was terrible. Or mommy, you're horrible. So I try to send text messages now, put smiley faces, and as I read this message, she don't no, go write it over. That's mean. That's not a good message, mommy. Be nice to people. So again, it's also having somebody, and it's hard because nobody likes being told about themselves. Me especially. That's why I don't say sorry, right? So next slide, please, George. What do you value most about your schedule? Freedom and control. But that comes with responsibility. When you have freedom to do anything and nobody can dictate, that is sometimes where we get lost. Because nobody can tell you off for doing a 0 month. Nobody can tell you off for not making any money. Because you're your own person. But the thing about it is being in control and knowing that when you look, and that's what I said about the weekly planner. If you look at your weekly planner for next week and it's 0, you're in control of fixing it. You're in control of changing what goes into that for next week. If I look in my diary and I see no blue, no red or green, I'm dying. I'm on edge. Don't talk to me. Please let me block out at the next hour to go get on the phone. I need to make calls. I need to call some people. I need to talk to somebody. I don't do zeros. In fact, 0 doesn't equate to anything. You ever hear people start going from 0? What? No, we start going from 1. So we start with 1 and we keep moving from there. So being in control and having the freedom is not taking advantage of that in a negative way. It's taking advantage of it in a positive way, that you can be the person that the person is coming behind you, because you're training your senior team leaders to say this is going to be an awesome position, but they're going to live by what they are seeing you doing. So you take control, you make the right decisions, and it's not easy to make the right decisions, but call somebody up that you trust. Ask them for help. And by the way, I know I'm not talking to you necessarily, but it's about talking to your group leaders as we go through this. But sometimes it's about going outside the base shop. The group leaders go out and they talk to each other, and then suddenly they come back and they're telling you how they want to do something and how another vice president is doing it. No. We were brought up in different houses, right? I promise you, we all ask each other how we were brought up. You would hear some horror stories, you get slaps, and no, my mom would say, go sit on the notice stairs. My mom would say, don't go back to the kitchen. Or you'd have all these different things, and we are who we are today. Great, awesome people. So it's another thing is to encourage our group leaders that they can talk to us, have open, honest discussion, and be real with your people, and let them know that there's pain, but let them know that you're there, just like children. When they hurt themselves, you're there to pick them up, help them and brush them off, and help them to move on. And whenever they get to vice president, that you'll be there as well to help and support them all the way through. Thank you, guys. I think that's my last slide, right? Thank you.